Hey guys, Dazzler Magic here with what I suspect is the final spoiler video. Just by sheer volume, we have to be at 270 whatever after you count the Planeswalker decks. But first, some updates and corrections. Oath of Kaya, it does not care if you get attacked. It only cares if Planeswalkers get attacked. So I'm downgrading her to useless. Maybe in the current Planeswalker heavy standard meta that's probably going to come out, but honestly most Super Friends decks don't even use creatures. But then again, they rely on ultimates, which there's almost none of in this entire set. So yeah, huge downgrade. Next up, we've got Narset's Reversal, which it turns out does actually counter the spell despite being worded exactly the opposite way as Remand, the closest card I could think of. Yes, people gave other examples, but this is the first one I could think of. I mean, it's questionable whether or not you could even, quote, return a spell to hand. There are cards, there are spells, and they're referred to based on where they are. But I guess they just settled on that wording and went with it instead of saying, oh, well, the card representing the spell on the stack. Or I guess they thought that would be too confusing. And then we ended up with this mess. So the first spell is countered. So somebody, I don't know, hits you with some kind of red X on a heat ray. Who cares? Cool, you counter it and get a copy of your own. What the actual hell is the point of this compared to redirect? It is almost the exact same thing, and I say almost because you would technically trigger Ral's passive, whereas redirect would not. So defensively, this is just redirect, and then offensively, you counter the first copy, so what the hell is the point? I mean, you get the spell back, okay. That's an awfully roundabout way to get flashback, basically. I don't know. I don't even know if this is a downgrade or an upgrade. I'm not sure which one I'd prefer. One's better on offense, one's better on defense. So whatever, at least the card works differently than what I said. The important thing is I made a tiny little mistake because of Wizard's stupid wording, and everybody needs to get the fuck over it. I'm still far more accurate than any other MTG channel out there by a long shot. Speaking of that, a lot of you took issue with the fact that I said Ugin's Conjurant is better than Endless One, because you just looked at it and you're like, well, that's a weakness. It has automatic Super Wither. Oh, it's automatically a worse card. Well, except for in gameplay. Yeah, creature on creature combat, it would appear to be a weakness. That's a toss-up, depends how you use it. Okay, you've got a 9/9 Endless One and you've got a 9/9 Ugin's Conjurant. There's a 0% chance that they're going to cast a Lightning Strike on your Endless One, which means they're going to hold it in hand, or they're going to hit you with it, or a smaller creature, or a Planeswalker. If they see, let's shrink it to 7/7, that's a little more reasonable. If they see a 7/7 out, and they're like, well, I can't kill it with Lightning Strike, all right, I'll hold it in my hand. Or they could say, oh, I can shrink that to 4. That's way better, boom, use it. Now they burned a red damage spell on it, it's not dead, it takes multiple to kill this thing. And now that spell isn't going to be used anywhere else, and you have one less unknown mystery spell that they're holding in their hand. In combat, they're more likely to take a medium to high importance creature and throw it in the way blocking of an Ugin's Conjurant than they are an Endless One. If they can't chump an Endless One with a 1/1, they're probably not going to block it with a semi-important 4/4. But oh, if I block Ugin's Conjurant, yeah, my creature will die, but I'll be able to trim its size down a little bit. So then they're kind of self-coerced or manipulated into losing a creature that tactically probably isn't a very good idea, just making an unwise blocking decision because, okay, at least it won't be a 7/7 then. I'll shrink it down to 4/4. That's way more reasonable. That is not tactically sound, but that one, there is a different side to it. It's not quite as cut and dry as just what a Lightning Rod Ugin's Conjurant is for red spells. Well, next time it swings, it's going to be smaller. That's not good. That would not happen with Endless One. And are they really just going to let a 7/7 through? And if they did, wouldn't that be more positive? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Probably more often than not. I'd say yes, but it depends on both decks, really. Like what how much trample, how much boost ambush? Do you have Mighty Leap? It's very situational. Now, the other thing is, okay, you have a 5/5 Ugin's Conjurant out there, and they have a 4/4 in play, and then they have like a 2-cost kill spell. They're less likely to use the kill spell on Conjurant because they thought, well, I could just block it once and it's basically gone. Or, I'm sure I'll pull a direct damage spell. Or, most of my Planeswalkers do direct damage. I'll be able to just get rid of this thing another way. I'm gonna hold on to my kill spell and use it on something better. Which in most cases is not tactically sound. Now, against an Endless One, they would say, nah, I want this gone. There is no other way to kill this. I don't have anything big enough in combat to kill this. Boom, kill spell. So this stays alive longer, they burn more resources getting rid of it. It's all about the psychology of it and making people make mistakes. And you'll get a lot more mileage out of Ugin's Conjurant with ambushes because they're more likely to block it. There's other little perks. I don't want to make this entire video about Ugin's Conjurer. Endless one. Lifelink does work against it. Ugin's Conjurer. Lifelink doesn't work against it. 1/1 Death Toucher can kill an Endless one. 1/1 Death Toucher cannot kill Ugin's Conjurer. So overall, playability-wise, feature-wise, resilience, and making your opponent make mistakes, absolutely a better card. I still absolutely stand by that. You have to think past just the surface. All right, now that we got that out of the way, we have Unlikely Aid, pretty much everybody's favorite card from this set of spoilers. This is just so outrageous. It answers the question that we all were thinking is, how the hell does Gideon get that kind of mad air in that other Mighty Leap clone card? You know, where he's flying through the air with the Black Blade going at Bolas's face, as if that would ever work. Well, how does he get up that high? Does somebody throw him? I think I speak for everybody when I say we were all imagining like a circus cannon. They were just going to launch him out of a cannon and just see what happens. Sounds like something Izzet could build. But nope, he is riding on Rakdos. A lot of people thought that was Ob Nixilis. Read the flavor text. Also, Ob Nixilis is like 7 feet tall. Rakdos, oh, he a thick boy. Oh, Lord, he coming. So all aboard the Rakdos taxi. But first, I actually just remembered one I forgot to put in the corrections. I said Teferi built the planar bridge. No, it's the other T guy. My brain just doesn't do names. The first letter, close enough. It was Tezzeret who built it. Duh. Anyway, this is a instant that costs 2. Target creature gains +2/+0 and indestructible until end of turn. I would say that out of all the 1 and 2 cost boost spells, this could very well be the best because you don't really care about toughness when you're indestructible. This can be used 100% defensively 100% of the time. And by 100%, I mean not when they're using like a -2/-2. I mean, there's like 2 or 3 white spells that give +2/+2 and they cost 1. Both of them gain life under some circumstances, and I think there's even more that do the same thing. So 1 versus 2 is a combat ambush. Boy, I mean, it's half the mana. Really easy to leave 1 untapped and not have your opponents be suspicious. But the success rate, I mean, if somebody tries to lightning strike your 1/1 and you give it +2/+2, you ain't saving it. So yeah, this is pretty damn good, and it's black, whereas most of the other combat tricks are green or white. So very important spell here. And now the flavor text. No one will ever ride me again, Gideon. Expect no further favors. Rakdos. Comma, first day on the job as an Uber driver. So I don't know how this agreement came about, but I like it. So next up, we've got Divine Arrow. That's Pegasus getting taken down by a big ol', honestly, that's like a ballista bolt. Normally I'd say that ain't no arrow, but it's probably Oketra's arrow, so I guess technically, from her perspective, it's an arrow. And you know, since we're on the whole Gideon thing, that's Gideon carrying the Black Blade. Was this really the first attempt where he fell off the Pegasus first, and then he's like, hey, Rakdos, what are you doing? So anyway, deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature for 2. That's one of the better ones we have. I still think Take Vengeance is a little bit better, but it's sorcery speed, so hard to say. I mean, this is at least good. We've had cards like Gideon's Reproach before, and, you know, other versions of this, and it's attacking or blocking, so I mean, it's good. People play them. Oh, I just realized I guessed right. The flavor text is Ravnica's defenders watched in horror as Oketra's shot pierced the body of the Pegasus. Gideon tumbled through the air, Black Blade in hand. Maybe Rakdos catches him in midair, because I don't think his shield extends to extremely high heights being fallen from. My understanding is that you can stab people anywhere, and Nicol Bolas wasn't floating or flying at the time. He was just standing on his citadel. So why don't they use Dimir to sneak into the citadel, because they've already done that and know how and have, you know, stealth spells. It just pokes him in the foot real quick with the Black Blade. I mean, there's literally no reason to fly up right in front of his face where you can see him. No wonder it didn't work. Gideon's an idiot. Next up, Rubblebelt Rioters. That's 0/4 for 3 with haste, but when it attacks, it gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among all creatures you control, not just attackers you control. Very important distinction. That's just good. I mean, 4 toughness for 3, that's great. Haste, all right. I mean, not a whole lot of Gruul cards have automatic haste. And then this could just get absolutely huge. It's almost like an automatic cloner. And then early game, I mean, this 0/4 blocker isn't the end of the world in case of emergency. That's just a really good card. Next up, okay, mega ultra spoiler here, D-Spark. So a lot going on with this one. First, let's assess it as a card, which who cares? I'm way more interested in the story, but whatever. So it's a 2-cost, black-white, exile target permanent with converted mana cost 4 or greater. By that limitation, it's probably going to make this a sideboard-only card, but this is damn good. This is really similar to, I can never think of it, like Utter End and the one with like Sorin on it, and yeah. It's exile, not destroy, it's just good. So anyway, the flavor text is Liliana whispered to whatever consciousness Oketra and Bantu had left. Okay, Bantu was a traitor in the first place. I'm sure she's pissed that Bolas killed her, but out of the 5 primary gods, she was the one who was like, yeah, that sounds like a plan. All right, cool. I'm black aligned, I'm evil. So she retained her memories the whole time and knew what Bolas's plan was. She was totally okay with him just beaming in, killing everybody in the city except people under the age of 2 or whatever. That's some bullshit. Screw Bantu, but Mittens is your gal. Mittens will come through for you 100% of the time, except on the card's artwork, which clearly shows just 2 Eternals, not anything to do with the gods at all. Here's the other thing. Oketra and Bantu. What about the other 2? Which kind of implies that they battle them and kill the other 2. Unless they just by sheer coincidence don't happen to be standing near Bolas, but then again, like I said on the artwork, they aren't there either. Those appear to be just 2 random Eternals. I don't see nothing with a bow. I don't see no special headgear. They aren't even that tall. And we all know that the Eternals, like all of them, I guess, are capable of like removing somebody's spark when they're dead or before or after injured. I don't, who cares? And then they beam it into the air towards Bolas. So obviously Liliana takes control of the undead horde and is like, all right, let's go try to steal Bolas's spark. Which I guess heavily implies you don't have to be dead for it to happen. I mean, if you're like, kill Bolas first, then tell them to steal his spark. I mean, that's teabagging somebody in Halo 2 after running them over with a Warthog if I've ever seen it. Now that is insult to injury right there. But clearly it implies with the art that they're capable of stealing a spark without killing a Planeswalker or before killing them, or honestly, he doesn't even look injured. And when he's all black like that, it means that's post the spell going off. So right now he has godlike powers. So one of his colors is black. I don't really know why he needed Liliana to command the horde. Maybe it's just a concentration thing. But there's huge precedent of him knowing necromantic spells. So 2 tiny little zombies that may or may not be gods or should have been and were drawn wrong. I think he could stop them. I think he could just basically turn undead on them and blow their heads clear off. Turn them into ash, basically. Maybe not if they were gods, but I think did he directly kill Bantu or did he have the Scorpion God do it? I don't remember, but I think he's got more power than the Scorpion God, so I don't know. Anyway, the second part of the flavor text was, you are the gods, he is the usurper, you know what to do. I don't know, undead are pretty unintelligent, and last we heard they had their memories wiped, like permanently. So, you know what to do might be a little presumptuous. By the way, does it make any sense that you can exile any target permanent at all, not just a Planeswalker, with a spell that's called De-Spark? So you're gonna take a spark out of a 6-cost artifact. That makes sense. So next up we've got Vampire Opportunist. I don't know what the hell's going on with this card. She's trying to sink her fangs into a dead Eternal's hand? And they can't possibly have blood. You guys know how mummification works, all right? And regardless, you think those fangs are getting through solid Lazotep? I don't. Oh gee, neither does the flavor text of I think I cracked a fang. Yeah, something about you is a little cracked if you thought that would work, you dumbass. So anyway, it's a 2/1 for 2, and if you pay 7, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life, making this virtually unplayable. If you have more mana than you know what to do with turn after turn after turn, either you have the worst draw luck ever or you should have built your deck differently. Absolute jank filler trash. Next up, we got Tithe Bearer Giant. Ooh, they brought in the Orzhov Special Forces to crush some zombies. So it's a 4/5 for 6, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So you don't usually see that effect on late game stuff. A lot of people think early game, ooh, cantrip, ooh, keep my card count high in my hand, but by the time you got this out, you probably got 1 or 2 cards in hand. So to get an extra card on top of dropping in a 4/5, is it worth 6 and you're losing a life? Maybe. Depends on your deck, depends on your luck. In a draft or at the pre-release, I would definitely lean towards yes. Oh, and the flavor text is pretty funny. I've always said full war chests win wars, but I didn't mean by bashing enemy skulls with them. I didn't immediately get that. I'm like, but that's a giant, not a mimic, not an enchanted chest. And I'm like, oh, I get it. He's holding it. Oh, so it's not the giant they're referring to. It's that, which in the art he's not hitting anyone with, and he's a perfectly good weapon in his other hand. So actually, it kind of does fall apart, but at least it kind of makes sense at a basic level, unlike most of the stuff in this damn set. Next up, Battlefield Promotion. So it's an instant, cost 2, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That creature gains first strike until end of turn. You gain 2 life. So as a middle of combat ambush, I mean, you get first strike, but you only get +1, but then you get survivability on top of it, but it's still, once again, only +1, and it costs double what any of the other single cost white boosts are. One of which also gains 2 life, by the way. So is this really better? Yes, absolutely. It's less effective as a for sure ambush in combat, and only getting 1 bigger, not great, but if you swung a 2/2 into a 3/3, the first strike turns it into not a trade. But unlike the other ambush spells, you get to keep the counter, so it's pretty damn good. Next up, we've got Enforcer Griffin. It's a 3/4 flyer for 5, and that's it. And I don't think you're going to get much mileage out of the Griffin subtype on there, so absolute filler jank. Then again, we don't have a lot of flyers this size, so if you're going blue-white all flyers, it's still on the high end and it's kind of weak, but I don't know. Maybe it'll find a home, who knows. Next up, Snare Spinner. It's a 2-cost 1/3 with reach, and whenever it blocks a creature with flying, it gets +2 attack until end of turn. We've seen stuff like this before. Hell, it's probably a reprint. Bit of a sideboard card. I'd prefer just Plummet or whatever. Next up, Crowl Stinger. It's a 2/2 Death Toucher for 3. Yeah, I mean, the game was a little short on Death Touchers, but the most important Death Touchers are 1/1s for 1, which we already have one of, just not in green, and we don't have Sedge Scorpion. So 3's a little late for something this weak, and 2 damage ain't gonna win you games, but it could absolutely stall out combat. That is the sheer power of Death Touchers. For 3 mana, the perfect form of this would have been a 1/4, but whatever, can't have it all. Next up, a little bit of an upgrade for some existing cards. We got New Horizons. It's a 3-cost aura. You enchant a land, and it enters the battlefield, or when it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, and then enchanted land has add 2 mana of any one color. There's cards really similar to this, and they like gain life or do something basically less overall useful than dropping a 1/1 counter on something forever. So this is pretty much the new best of, and I don't think we have an effect that does this for 2. So yeah, definitely pull whatever you're running and put this in instead. Unless, of course, it's a 0 creatures deck. So next up, we got Bleeding Edge. It's a 3-cost sorcery with double black. Up to 1 target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Amass 2. One of the better amass cards by far. I mean, 2/2 ain't great. This is nowhere near Grasp of Darkness. And the real killer is you can't do this in the middle of combat because it's sorcery speed. Boy, does that power this down. However, people tend to forget that you can do this after combat. So you took a 3/3 and you did 1 damage to it by blocking it. Cool. Now you -2 it. Boom, it dies instantly. There are a shockingly high number of people who don't realize that that's how that works. And then you get a 2/2 creature out of it. So not bad. Not bad at all. Next up, Gateway Plaza. This is only really in here for draft in the pre-release because this was actually printed in Ravnica Allegiance and Guilds of Ravnica. So this is the 3rd reprint in a row, but like, I get it. I don't think the supplies run in short, they're commons, but it's a lot of really good fixing in the common slot for draft purposes. Next up, we've got Mana Geode, which they put on a string as a necklace already, which is nice because then you could take it to your favorite gay nightclub and club it up. Everybody said bling hip hop ended in the late 2000s, but I mean, you walk into the club with this, you're going to look pretty fabulous. This is a 3-cost standard mana rock ramper. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1, and then you can immediately tap it for 1 mana of any colors. So I think this is scry 1 better than another card we already have. So another just instant automatic replacement. I do like that they appropriately cost stuff like this because a lot of the green ramp creatures cost 1 and 2. That's the point. They're faster. But any kind of creature removal, board wipe, anything can blow them up. Artifacts, a lot harder to blow up. So if this is cheaper, nobody would play green ramp creatures except for the 1-cost ones. So yeah, every single version of whatever they do for ramping like this better cost 3. So finally, appropriately balanced power in this set. Too bad 30 other cards are overpowered as all hell. Next up, because Izzet Drakes just needed that much more help, we've got Sky Theater Strix with pseudo prowess. Wonderful. It's a 1/2 for 2, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1 attack until end of turn. Well, Prowess was +1/+1, and this is only +1/+0, but still. In some Izzet spell spamming crap, this could put the pressure on early and make them burn a removal spell that would normally be more appropriate for one of the Drakes. And that sucks because that deck was already obnoxious and overpowered as all hell, and they picked up like 10 more cards that they can run in it. So once again, nothing overpowered inherently about this card, but in the standard meta and in particular decks, it will be outrageously going way too far. There's a very important distinction between the two. Alright, so I probably missed a couple of them, but it's not my fault MythicSpoiler.com put them in the wrong order all of a sudden. So that's it for these spoilers, but hopefully still today I'll be able to upload some stuff about the new Mythic Edition and the new Spellbook that are coming out. Interesting. So stay tuned for that one, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys next video.